Rainier Avenue Radio .world. Don't forget to log on www.rainieravenue.world.
What is the Delta variant? It's a faster, more efficient version of the original virus that causes COVID-19. It's the same virus, it's just better at infecting people. Delta is far more contagious than its predecessors. It's spreading twice as quickly as the original strain, and people who are infected with it carry around much more virus. Getting vaccinated is the best defense we have against COVID-19, including against the Delta variant. Now check this out. The vaccine is free, safe, and effective. Time to protect yourself is now. Learn more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine. Join Rainier Avenue Radio from 5 to midnight for Sunday evening sound sessions. Jazz from the Cabinets from Big Poppy.
That's right. It's time once again for Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy.
Sergio LaCour's Love Lines.
It's Sergio's Love Lines with Sergio LaCour. Go to the phone line. Tell her who we talking to.
Sage Prince and Just My Opinion.
This is Sage, and that's just about going to do it for the first half of Just My Opinion.
K-Fox Night Beat with Nasty Ness Rodriguez.
The beat of the Fox. K-Fox Night Beat, Nasty Ness.
You know what? You're going to listen from 5 to midnight. Just turn it on and don't stop. DJ Alibaba. The Underground Surround Sound Star Time with Paul Pearson.
Thanks for tuning in. My name is Paul Pearson.
Sunday evening sound sessions on Rainier Avenue Radio. Trust me, you'll be listening the entire time from 5 to midnight. Sunday evening, your sound session on Rainier Avenue Radio.
And welcome to our live studio audience for another exciting edition of Did You Know? And here we go with round one. Did you know?
The COVID vaccine is free and easy to get. You don't need insurance or an appointment to get your vaccine. Vaccines are available at many locations near you.
And now we're going to double the value. Did you know?
The COVID-19 vaccine is always free of cost. You can visit pharmacies, community health centers, and other health providers in your neighborhood.
And now for the lightning round. Did you know?
The Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale. Did you know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today. Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine.
Did you know?
Would you like to see when your favorite Rainier Avenue Radio show comes on? Check out our show schedule, updated weekly at rainieravenue.radio.world.
All right. It is high noon. I am Mazvita Maraire, your host of Seattle Sports Weekly. And, really big show. Seems like we say that every week, but we were off last week and just glad to be back with you all. And, back talking sports. Well, in this venue, it's not like we didn't talk sports, but we did. And so there's a lot of moving parts and, things are going minus menos, if you will, in terms of the Seattle sports landscape. And today's show, we've got Lars Hanson will come on, along with Scott Laigo, down at the in the second segment, as we say in the broadcast industry, but to talk the new University of Washington men's football team has a new coach, Kalen Deboer. So we'll break that down and what's what and who's who and what does it mean. And with those experts, we'll also kind of look at the roster because I think there will be some turnover. There really is. That's the way college sports is because of the transfer portal. Not good, not bad. I think it actually you talk about a level playing field. So now, if the coach can leave, you saw that from Notre Dame. He left, went over to LSU. It's like, what? And so just left his players, and it's an interesting move. But you're seeing players now move from their current team to maybe another team due to playing or the coach. And interesting, you're going to see that with a couple players moved from Oklahoma, because the new old Oklahoma coach is now the new coach at USC. So, and then he's taking his recruit with him. Number 5 recruit is now going to decommit at Oklahoma and decided to go to USC. So we'll get more into that more specifically, but with those guys, kind of break it down. But for now, Lamar Neagle is going to come on in a few minutes here. Yeah, the former Seahawks, former Sounder legend, and he's a local boy, and he's got kind of he's a team owner now. So we're going to hear about his new latest venture, Ballard FC, a semi-pro team that he is part of, and we'll hear all about that. And we'll kind of catch up with him a little bit. Got a couple surprises for him. He doesn't know that, but nothing crazy. But he is one of my favorite players to interview. Again, one of those really good guys, great athlete, well-rounded, and family man. And that makes sense that after his pro career is done, he goes back and tries to give back to the community. So that is, we'll hear from him in a little bit. But, give the Mariners credit. The Mariners announced yesterday that they signed Robbie Ray to a 5-year major league contract. Why is that a big deal? Because Ray won the American League Cy Young Award in 2021. And it's a big deal. This is a big, big deal here. The Mariners are making a statement in terms of that. And he was with Toronto. Wasn't drafted in the Nationals in the 12th round. But Ray is he received 29 of 30 votes for the Cy Young votes. So the 6'2", 215 pounds. He's left-handed, and he led all qualified pitchers. ERA of 2.85, and strikeouts 248. Innings pitched was 193.1. So what the Mariners, what did they get? They went and got a guy that can just chew up innings. He's a bulldog. He's out here, and in baseball, that's your ace. You want that guy that when he's matched up, that you're pretty sure will have a better than not chance of winning that game. And the reason why you want that to happen is your ace usually plays first game of a series against someone, right? If you're playing a 4-game series or a 3-game series, you want to pencil that. That's what they call them, ace. You want to that one, right? You want to pencil almost a win for that one game because it sets the tone. And the Mariners had a really good bullpen last year. And, what you got to ask, what does this mean to Marco Gonzalez? Because he was supposed to be their ace, but he was injured. But that's not a bad option at number 2. We'll see what the Mariners decide to do with Marco there. But I'm pretty sure that would be a good that's a good option at number 2. And Justice Sheffield is there. So now that's all good and well. But the other thing is right now there's a Major League Baseball has a lockout. And so that means, here we go again. But I think this one is all kind of cat and mouse, kind of coy, because MLB got it right. So right now the lockout means that players cannot participate or enter their team's facility. And they can have no communication. Obviously, physical will be entering, but they can have no communication with club representatives and vice versa. And really, it's not that big a deal right now until it gets to, they've got about a month to play around. So why? The players want a larger share of the revenue, which is hovered around 50-50, but currently it goes to 50. Owners get 50%, while the players receive 43%. This is an ongoing theme in terms of what happens with the Players Association that represents the players and the owners. I mean, each league has its own collective bargaining agreement, and the television revenue is when everybody starts looking with covetous eyes, because the guaranteed television revenue is guaranteed to the owners. Win, lose, or draw, doesn't matter how many fans are in there. And there's $1 billion contracts. That's guaranteed. So of course the owners are going to be great. This is, yes, let's sign this TV contract. So that's where the players say, well, wait a minute, we also want some of that money, and also the gate receipts and everything else. And the one thing that's odd about baseball is the baseball owners have what they call this manipulation of service. That is, young starters can be put in the minor leagues longer than necessary. And thereby, if you're playing well in AAA or in AA, because in baseball, you can go from AA to the major league. But if you're playing well, and there you are in AA, and I don't, as an organization, I don't want to move you up right away if you're playing really well. I gotta pay you big money. So I'm gonna leave you down there for a little bit. Does that hurt my winning? Yeah, but in the end, I'd rather make money and win a little bit as opposed to lose a lot of, have you up there, me lose a lot of money. $1 billion owners are not in the game for losing money. They're billionaires. There's a reason why they're billionaires. They're in there to make money. They know how to make money. So that is really the kind of the three things that are there. The players want more of the revenue sharing. The players union wants to end the service time manipulation, and the union wants to incentivize the competition. So that is a lot of teams, when they're beginning to tank it, they will go ahead and and put mid-tier free agents. So in that way, like if Mariners are not gonna compete for the title, well then, in the last month of the season, unfortunately, thank goodness that's not what happened, but they'll go ahead and play lesser players. Now, not the good ones I mentioned that are doing really well, but maybe some middle-term players to, just to limp out the season. And so and then get a higher draft pick. You see this in the NBA sometimes in teams. It's called tanking it. And so sometimes, the players are like, in players union, like, you know what, that's not fair competition. Because by tanking it, owners get a higher draft pick. The more higher draft picks you get, the more you can do away with your older players that are making more money. It's a business. And so that's why you kind of see that whole, shall we say, in terms of players don't, saying, hey, owners shouldn't tank it. And the owners are like, well, fine. We'll kind of see what we'll do. But they're really in it for one thing only. And as I said, again, they are to make big money. But kudos, as they say, to the Mariners for Robbie Ray. And, the Mariners really position themselves for a long, sustained run here for the playoffs. Remember they came down to the home series against the Angels, and they were 2 games short. So not a bad time, actually, if you're the Mariners, to try to get into the Seattle sporting landscape, if you will. The Seahawks, and we're going to go into them a little bit, are, in transition. And so we kind of have to wait and see. You saw the game in Washington. So do you blow up the Seahawks in terms of as a squad, or do you wait? Either way, there's a lot of people kind of saying it's the same old song with the same old story. And right now, the Seahawks are just not producing, and, fair enough. So the Mariners can see an opportunity. Now, I went to the game in Washington and talked with Pete and everybody else after the game, and it's the same story. We can't convert in third down. Is Russell Wilson, did he come back too early? And I must admit, for the first time, and as long as I've ever seen it, Russell Wilson, we talked about this, Russell Wilson just didn't look like he was having fun. And I'm not saying he's leaving, but when you're losing and you've lost 4 in a row, that's no fun. But he had a look in his eyes that you could tell, a look of bewilderment. So right now, the Seahawks are trying to find themselves offensively. Defensively, they're playing well. They're playing really well. And actually, in the last 4 games, they have one of the top defenses in the NFL. And that is the bend, don't break. They have the 6th ranked scoring defense. It's hard to score against the Seahawks defense once you get inside the red zone. Now, from there to the red zone, the Seahawks bend but don't break. So they figured out what to do with Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. That free safety and strong safety is now working well. The fulcrum is playing well. So when the Seahawks go to the dime package, Diggs kind of now, is reading the receivers, communicating really well, and which is 5 DBs is a dime package. And then that's a nickel, 6. So 6 is your multiple DBs. And the Seahawks will do that. I mean, they will play 5 to 6 DBs in there. And the corners are playing really well. Pete talked to us yesterday about that. So the defense has improved. The offense, they need an offseason. At the end of the day, they just need an offseason. But as I said, and I'll end the segment on this, there was a lot of opportunities for a good winning team to come into the Seattle sports scenes and grab some fans. Some fans for the taking. So speaking of fans and for the taking, I'm just really honored. As I said at the beginning of the show, one of those athletes. Let's think about covering sports. You run into all kind of athletes and individuals, and there's nothing like you get a chance to interview somebody who is a true human being. I've talked about Jordy DeLem and Bobby Wagner, about people that have both feet on the ground and they know athletics is part of who they are. And it's something that they, goal that they set out, they achieve it. And you talk to them and they're very personable. And so they excel on the field. And then off the field, they're well-grounded. And one of those individuals that I've had the pleasure of chatting with and, having good discussions and learning about the soccer game on the pitch and then having good discussions off the pitch is Lamar Neagle. And he is, Seattle Sounders legend. So we're going to kind of catch up with him right now. And then he's going to tell us about this ballad football thing going on. So, Lamar, can you come on? That'd be an honor if you could join us.
Yeah. What an intro. That's I usually get the stats, but I really, really enjoyed that intro. So thank you for that. That's quite the compliment.
No, thank you. It's well deserved. So, you know what? I'm sorry. I'll begin with I'm sorry because we're going to make it a little bit about you for a second. And I know you don't like that because that's how y'all roll. But I got a couple of surprises, and then we'll get to the big news. But D-Money, can you roll that first, I think it's Lamar Neagle's first goal video. Can you roll that?
Yeah.
Jake is still showing good feet, good energy. Little chip, and it's in! What a great Oh, play. My, Alonzo! Make that Neagle!
What a fantastic strike.
Just tucking that one on the underside of the crossbar, and this one is all over but the shouting.
Lamar Neagle, good first touch, good awareness. He knew exactly where he wanted to go. Great ball from Tyson Wall, great touch. And boy, Nick Raimondo had no chance on that one. That was a fantastic goal from the young fella from Federal Way.
Hi, I'm James Riley.
All right,
Sanders.
Let's stop that one because we're gonna get up. We got one more. I mean, if we're gonna do highlights. Your first goal, we got to do your hat trick, right? So let's roll Lamar's hat trick, and then we'll get to. We have that video right there.
Here goes Neagle again on the ball from Vicito. Montero making a run down the centre. Neagle could go all the way here. Right foot drive, and it's going to go in! 1-0 Seattle! 4th minute of the game. Lamar Neagle's first goal. Century Link Field. There's available down the right-hand side. Look at him motoring. James Riley on the overlap. Here's Riley to the byline. Cross comes in. Oh, it could be another one. It is! Lamar Neagle! 20 minutes gone, and it's a wrap so far at CenturyLink Field. Down the centre, Montero. Casito points to where he wants the ball. Lamar Neagle for the hat-trick! Oh, has it gone in? Has it gone in? I think it has, you know. They've given the goal. The referee says goal, and it's a hat-trick on the home turf.
There you go. Sorry, Lamar. I had to go down memory lane just for a quick moment there. So, you know, let's just talk about the transition. You played for the Sounders, Tacoma Stars, and then what are you up to now?
So I'm in wealth management for a large firm as a advisor. So that's been a transition that that took a while. You know, I stopped playing the MLS in 2018. Coached for a little bit, finished my degree, trying to figure out what I wanted my next step to be. And end of 2020 was when I started with this firm. And so that was October. So it's been a little over a year now, settling in. I'm on a brand new team, and it's been going well. I always knew I would transition out of soccer and do something completely different for like my main job. That's just kind of, I knew that would always be my path. I wasn't going to coach or anything along those lines, but I always knew that I would eventually come back and I would have some hand in soccer and in the development in the area. And that's what kind of led to this whole thing.
All right, let's go with the D money, because I'm going to kind of talk with you a little bit more, but let's play the Ballard FC video, and then Lamar can tell us exactly what is Ballard FC and what's it all about.
Okay.
Ballard, where Seattle's past intersects with its future. A gateway to the Puget Sound with a culture all its own. Where hard work is a way of life, and that work is celebrated. Where the bounty of the Northwest is always at your fingertips. And now, it's time we had a team of our own. Where the bright lights of Interbay will shine down on our chosen 11. Welcome aboard.
All right, so Ballard FC is semi-pro. How did that come about?
Yeah, so it actually came about through connections with while I was on the Stars. I was playing with a guy, Sam Zizette, who's from Ballard. After we were done playing, he kind of came to me. We always talked in the locker room. I had a good relationship. Talked a lot of outside of soccer, kind of on the business side of it. But he never brought the idea to me. And then he brought the idea to me, a few months after we had stopped with the Stars, about possibly, doing a hyper-local team. And immediately I grappled onto the idea because for me, I was going to college in Vegas. So I went from being home in Seattle, went to Vegas for college, playing D1 soccer. And then for my summers, if you were a player who wanted to actually play in the pros, that's a long time to go without games. The college season is only so big, so you only get so many games, and that's exactly what you need as a young player to develop. And I definitely needed that. And so I ended up spending my summers going to Des Moines, Iowa, because they had a really good organization, the Des Moines Menace, and playing for them. I would have loved to, come home, but the Des Moines Menace was just such a professional organization. And right when I got there, I knew that, I wasn't going to play for any other team during my summers. And they actually won the USL2 last year. So they've been around a long time, and they're still doing really well. So if I could bring that same type of professionalism to Seattle, we have a lot of players that, a lot of talent in the area. So to create another path for them to develop, and especially our college scene is crazy, right? So many good colleges in the area, UW, Seattle, USB, the list goes on. So there's a lot of talent locally that could use the path during the summer to play.
Yeah, sorry about that. I can equate Seattle's talent for soccer the same way basketball. You know, we had Peter Hattrip on here a month back, and one of the legends. But really, for all y'all that are listening, the Seattle basketball scene and the Seattle soccer team, the Seattle soccer scene are kind of the same in terms of the talent. You can who's who through the years that have gone on. So it looks like a brilliant idea. And you guys get to play in a grass surface.
Yes. So that was one of the big ones because so the team's going to play their home matches at Inter Bay. The team is all about Ballard. We know Inter Bay is not in Ballard, but Inter Bay is the perfect scenario for a team this size, and we wanted that professionalism from what we're going to do with the organization to also translate to on the field for those players, right? As players, you want to play in a nice stadium, on a nice pitch, soccer specific. Like, can it get any better? If there were options for that, then we definitely looked into them. But Inter Bay just seemed like, it just fit what we were trying to do. And so, 900 to 1,000 people, the perfect size for a USL2 club. We can make it family oriented. There's space for activities there as well. And so it just seemed perfect. Like you said, soccer specific. You can't get any better than that.
The relationship of soccer and the community, whether it's, a pub team in, Lancaster or Leicester City, and even here, how the Sounders started. Can you just talk about that relationship and how important soccer really did start as a journeyman, right? And then it grew into the business. But how important is that community and the team relationship?
Yeah, I think if you're in the soccer scene, then you know exactly what that means, and you know exactly what it's meant for other countries. Like in England, they have these that have grown into these massive teams, but they've been around for hundreds of years. They were neighborhood teams. That's where it started. That's where the culture started. That's why it's so big. So if we can do something similar here, especially as the MLS grows, but if there's just more teams and more development, like that's only going to make U.S. soccer better. I think with the World Cup coming to the to the U.S. and Seattle being a possibility, that would be huge for this area. But I think USL has done a good job of kind of creating those smaller teams, and it might not bring in the big bucks that like an MLS team does, but it does bring a community together because there's nothing like sports that does that brings cultures from all over together. So if they can rally behind that, it gives them a commonality that just brings the community together. And that's what we're banking on. That's why it's Ballard FC instead of, some vague Seattle name that we could kind of bring everybody in. And we're trying to create hyper local in the hopes that, maybe some other communities will start to do the same thing. And then we'll have more teams in that league, more hyper local clubs, build up soccer in the area even more than it is. And everybody benefits from that.
I just think also the other brilliance in this is when you guys are playing, right? You're going to play in the summer.
Yeah. In the summer, it's 8 home games, so it's not a big time commitment. With some other sports, they can last for 4 hours, 3-4 hours. You know exactly how long this is going to last. But my main thing when I talked to the other co-founders was, I want to make this more than soccer. Obviously, it's going to be about community, and that's going to be a big part. But those game days, I want to be absolute events. That's what it felt like early on in the Sounders. It wasn't like you were going to a match, a soccer match. You were going to a Sounders game. And I had tons of people coming up to me, and they had never been to a game before, and they'd watched the Sounders on TV before, but never had experienced it live. And when they went, they were fans for life. And we really want to create that same experience. The team that I played for, the Des Moines Menace, it was like it was a family event at those games, at those home games. There were kids running around everywhere. They had games for the kids. It was just full of families, and I think that's going to be important moving forward, especially as we hopefully, whenever we do transition out of COVID. It's become increasingly online world. And so where are people going to go for community? Where are they going to go for social contact? And hopefully this can be, 8 days out of the summer, one of those places.
Yeah, that's not a bad day on a sunny day. I don't know whatever day you're going to play, to go down there, man, go down Ballard Shore, grab some chips, go to the game, come back, and it's not too dark. So, G Money, can you put up the Go Ballard FC site there if you have it there? I don't know if we're able to do that because you guys, your launch is coming up December 9th. Is that correct? In terms of the
launch party. Yeah. We have a launch party at Reuben's Brewery in Ballard, and they're the title sponsors, so they'll be on the front of the jerseys. They've been amazing. There's a mural that a local artist did on one of their walls, a bunch of his characters with Ballard FC. But yeah, we have some merch on the site. We'll have more announcements, obviously, in the coming months as we lead up to the season, for the summer, about coaches, about players, new partnerships. Ballard Food Bank is our main community partner. They're going to be, who we're kind of working with the most. We had the idea of, as it's a hyper-local, really focused team in Ballard, we wanted to do the same thing with our community partner. So instead of spreading it out and kind of benefiting a bunch of different causes, we want to go all in with an organization that's really going to make a difference. And so that's what we're doing for the first year. The idea is to have some sort of survey, involve the fans, involve season ticket holders on who that community partner will be next year, or the year after, 2023, so that they have a say in what they're supporting and how they're supporting it. So trying to stay, really involved in the community. And it seems like from the response we got that Ballard is going all in.
All right. Dang. Time. Where does the time go, as they say? So, Lamar, we're up on the break. I just appreciate you hopping on. And we'll try to get you back every so often. You're busy and everything else. But I'm going to do a start-stop real hard. Get to do that. And, I can't bypass the fact that you are a man of color and your ownership and what that does to the BIPOC community. So just want to thank you for that, being a trailblazer. You know what I mean? That we can't bypass that by any means.
Yeah.
So as always, you're opening doors and making a difference. And, since your days at Thomas Jefferson High School. So we want to appreciate you. Lamar, any last words before you go? Just appreciate you having me on, my brother.
No, thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Again, thank you for the intro. Thank you for the outro as well. Just really appreciate you, man. And I'm sure we'll talk soon.
All right, there you go. That's Lamar Neagle, Ballard FC owner, former Seattle Sounders player, but now he's a legend. So we're going to go on break, and then, oh, goodness, we're ready for some football. Bring them. You already know. Them guys are in queue, and they're ready to go. Scott Laigo and, oh, my goodness, and Lars Hanson. They're queued up. So we're going to bring them on in just a moment after the break. Seattle Sports Weekly, Mazvita Maraire. You all better be ready because we are ready to bring it. All right. Let's do 80 Bills.
Rainier Avenue Radio. What is the Delta variant? It's a faster, more efficient version of the original virus that causes COVID-19. It's the same virus, it's just better at infecting people. Delta is far more contagious than its predecessors. It's spreading twice as quickly as the original strain, and people who are infected with it carry around much more virus. Being vaccinated is the best defense we have against COVID-19, including against the Delta variant. Now check this out. The vaccine is free, safe, and effective. Time to protect yourself is now. Learn more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine.
Different rules apply when it gets this late, you know what I mean? It's like after hours.
Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right.
Hello, I'm an unpaid spokesman for DJ Sotovaci. I'd like to invite you to listen to his free-form music show. It's popular music the way it was never intended to be heard. Whatever gets you through the night, late nights, here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Whatever you through the night.
This is Big Poppy, host of Jazz from the Cabinets. Join me each week for a listening tour of the first century of jazz, an eclectic mix of Dixieland, big band, cool jazz, bebop, contemporary jazz, world jazz, all jazz in all forms. That's Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy on Rainier Avenue Radio, streaming worldwide on rainieravenueradio.world.
And welcome to our live studio audience for another exciting edition of Did You Know? And here we go with round one. Did you know?
The COVID vaccine is free and easy to get. You don't need insurance or an appointment to get your vaccine. Vaccines are available at many locations near you.
And now we're going to double the value. Did you know?
The COVID-19 vaccine is always free of cost. You can visit pharmacies, community health centers, and other health providers in your neighborhood.
And now for the lightning round. Did you know?
The Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale. Did you know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today.
Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine. Did you know?
This is Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
All right, we are ready to go. I got to cut the music short. I can't wait to have this discussion. Mazvita Maraire, Seattle Sports Weekly. And yeah, here we go. We got talk football. Actually, y'all, we've been talking football since, who knows what. I'm coming off these two guys better not. All y'all, Coach Scott Laigo and Lars Hanson, you guys better not hold back on the show because you guys always want to run your mouth when we're talking on the phone and doing the texting, and then we get on the show, don't nobody want to say nothing. Bring them on, D-Money. I'm calling them out. Bring them on. Yeah, bring it. Lars, I hope you got a good phone line. That dial-up stuff don't work no more, okay? What's up, fellas?
Nothing much, my brother. How are you?
Good. All right. You want to go video first?
Sure.
Okay. Go video first, and then go video first and watch the beginning of this video. I love this. Let's go ahead with that UW football coach video, D-Money.
Thank you, Husky Marching Band and Cheer. Let's give them a clap. Hi, everyone.
He's struggling with opening the bottle.
Thank you all so much for being here today to help welcome Coach Deboer and his family to the University of Washington. Before I formally, was that a clap? Let's go. Awesome. Before I introduce Coach Deboer formally, I just want to take a quick moment to recognize several individuals that have been very helpful and supportive through this process. First, I would like to thank President Kause, who's here today. Thank you, President Kause. You're an amazing leader, and you commit to football and to this department, and most important to our students. So we're very grateful for you. I want to take a moment to recognize Coach Peterson, who's probably hiding somewhere in the back, maybe, for his guidance and his counsel every day, but in particular over the course of the last couple weeks. I want to thank our staff. Every single person in our athletic department. It's been a tough couple years here. You guys keep stepping up and really, really appreciate everything you've done, in particular to make this a special day for Coach Deboer and for Husky football. You know, he's won at every level of college football. He's revitalized programs. Everywhere he's been, those programs have gotten better. And I have no doubt he's going to do the same thing here at the University of Washington. But even
championships. And then that's something, as you know, if you've kind of taken a look, that's something I like to be a part of. Okay. And it's being the best. And that's our goal. There's great coaches, great players, great alumni. So you can see that have gone to the NFL, but even ones that just laid the groundwork for us to be here today and have something that we absolutely love all together with supporting Husky football. I cannot wait, because I understand the value of these great people who have gone through this program. I cannot wait to get to know the alumni. And I can tell you that I want this to always be home for you. It doesn't matter which staff you played for. It doesn't matter. Okay. This is always supposed to be home, and you should always be welcome here. Just work ethic, you know. But, you know, I see that here. I see a gritty, hard-nosed environment, football program, institution, just a lot of the things that embody the things I feel strong about. And most importantly, as far as a staff, I know there'll be a lot of questions for that. I'll be very diligent. Of course, over 22 years, you develop a lot of, you come across a lot of people that impress you. You know, most of the time it's who you work with, but there are also people you go against, play against, compete against that impress you. And then obviously there's a little bit of word of mouth too. And, you know, I'll be very diligent in putting together a great staff. And I think first and foremost, a staff that can recruit.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to go with just impressions. Scott, start with you, and then Lars, and then there's a couple questions going to Coach take us through. But first impressions, fellas, take it away.
I'm first and foremost, as a coach, I'm never here to criticize other coaches. I don't know Coach Deboer very well. I don't know, I don't read his resume and things like that. I'll be honest, I think that there's a micro and a macro way of looking at micro. I'm happy that he's here. We've turned the page. We've moved on forward. Hopefully we'll get, he'll put together a good staff and make things happen. As you can see the helmet behind me, it's important to me that the Huskies, be successful in those things. Macro, with the move that was done at USC this week, I don't know if we answered the bell. And I think there's some bigger questions that need to be kind of looked at and really scrutinized. I would say I don't think we're one of the, blue blood programs in the country, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama. But, we've been in the college playoff. There's not too many teams that have been there. So we're on that cusp right below it. And so I just felt like we could have gone a little bigger. But having said that, I mean, the amount of money that's been spent this week, 5 coaches over $500 million. I mean, I don't know if the boosters were up to that threshold quite yet to put that much money into that big of a coach and do those things. But, I wish him nothing but the best. I'm rooting for him, but it's a wait and see for me in a lot of ways. Lars?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo a lot of exactly what Scott said. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit more in the sense of I actually was not a fan of the hire. I mean, I respectfully, again, I don't know him as a coach, I don't know him as a person, but kind of what Scott said, you have Lincoln Riley at USC, you have Mario Cristobal at Oregon for the time being, at least. You have even Kyle Whittingham at Utah, a very established head coach. Deboer has won, but here's the problem that I have with the hire. He has 1 year of Power 5 experience. One. At Indiana as an offensive coordinator. Jimmy Lake had 2 years as a defensive coordinator at Washington. In terms of Power 5 experience as a coordinator, that is the only kind of hesitation that I have, and where a lot of my issues with this go is to who does he bring with him? Who does he put around him at Washington? I know he's got some big names that he's going after. Some under the radar guys that actually, from what I've been told, are pretty good guys in terms of, they won't win you in a name, but the play and coach on the field and the results will win over in time. The problem that Washington has is they don't really have time. You got to go. You got to, and especially after 2020 was a wash. 2020 was a wash. 2021 was just about as much of a wash. Sam Heward, you cannot count this year for him. He didn't have an offensive coordinator. From beginning to the end of the season, there was no offensive coordinator. You've now stagnated the program for 2 years, and now you're hoping to moneyball your coach. Because you offered Matt Campbell north of $6 million. I think it was 7, 8. Some people said $9 million. The number I heard was 8. And Matt Campbell said no. And he was the second choice for UW. The first choice also said no. So to me, it's like, it's not necessarily an indictment on Coach Deboer. It's more of an indictment on UW, where what does the cost of winning matter to you? Chris Peterson was a $5, $6, $7 million a year coach. Jimmy Lake was 4, and took you way backwards. Deboer now at 3.1 is even like that's more than half of what you offered Campbell. So I'm not sure what to make of this hire. I'm intrigued because it means you're going to have a good offense. I don't question his offense. I don't think the offense is going to be an issue, but it can't be at the sacrifice of the defense, and that's kind of where my issues are.
All right, we're going to do this in 2 parts here. We'll go into the players in a second, Lars, just because I think the fact that Hayner's coming back and all that, and we can go back to the Sam Heward. So, but and honestly, Coach, it's great to have you in the room, not to criticize, but to really give the audience a kind of behind the scenes what happens if you're coaching one program. You don't know exactly what happened, but what are some of the things that kind of go on that no matter what the situation is, the discussions are kind of similar. Who contacts who, and then, what do you think about, and then how do you finally make that move? Can you take us into that world?
Well, a little bit of what Lars just said is my concern also when it comes to the hires. Most coaches have a tree that they work from, blah, blah, blah. He does not have that. He is an NAI, small college guy, worked his way up. And again, this is not a knock on him. He won 3 national championships. He had quite a remarkable record at that level. So that's my concern, is really who is he leaning on? And so I would think that the Tedfords and the Petersons are involved in that whole deal and heavily, influencing, helping him make those decisions. But again, you're putting a group of guys, 10, 11 people together that, have to work as one team and grow and get to better and know what the vision is and how they're going to do it. And again, to Lars' point, we went from a defensive coach, Jimmy Lake, who really ran a defense and got it going with no offense, to now we're going to have an offensive coach. And if he doesn't have a good defensive coordinator, and we know one thing, the 3 of us in this right now as we're talking, there's a program down at Southern Cal that's going to score some points. And boy, you better have some defense that can deal with that really fast, because they are going to score. And they're getting a lot of tools down there as the roster at Oklahoma's flipping and all the recruits that were coming from the 23 class. So I think that's a thing. And the one thing I did take good to heart, and again, this is not a knock on Coach Lake. I don't know anything about the recruiting. I know some of the guys are involved in that area, but you have to win your state. You have to keep those kids in town. The rumor today I heard on a podcast is Connerly's thinking USC now from Rainier Beach. So, those are things that, you got to get in that room. You got to be able to have a chance that those guys, the Wayne kid from, Lincoln coming down the road. There's some good players that are coming down. They have got to get those guys. They got to get the state back under control. And if they can do that, then they got a chance to win.
I should have known better. Exactly. You guys went right. I was trying to structure. That's what happens when you get some college experts. I was trying to be all nice. You guys got messy. Okay, fine. I think he's a good hire. Going back to what you said, Scott, because Fresno State, Fresno State's not a Power 5, but it could, through the years, Scott, let's talk about this, because Fresno State could have been a Pac-12, right? Back in the day, it was good enough and it's solid enough and it's beaten some. So to me, it's good enough to be in the Pac-12. Quality-wise and all those things. So I don't think the stage is too big for him. I think the stage is too big for him to compete with USC for national championships. But going back to this question, who is UW? We talked about this, will they compete for the Pac-12 championship? And I think, will they? And if they do, is that good enough? Or they're talking national championships. But what I don't get is this, and y'all can explain this to me, because so if he does compete for the Pac-12 championship, right? And I think they will, second, third, whatnot, always kind of, then is the Pac-12 going to be given that playoff spot? Because that could be the backdoor and easy way for him to get there. But what you guys are saying, the USC, the Blue Bloods are now rising up, and the UW is going to be third and fourth like it really is? I'm putting that out there for you all.
And I mean, the other thing too, you kind of have to. USC is in the South, so they can win the South and meet UW in the Pac-12 championship. But again, I'm going back to Mario Cristobal for the time being. He's still at Oregon. You still got to recruit against Oregon, and despite what Jimmy Lake wanted to say, Oregon beat UW pretty much for every recruit that they wanted in the last 2-3 cycles. Wide receivers, defensive backs, it didn't matter. I can't think of a recruit that chose Washington and Jimmy Lake over Oregon. I can't. I firmly can't. And that's just the fact of the matter. So it's not a matter of, can you compete with USC? Can you even compete in your own division? Now, you guys can have a great offense. You can, Jake Hader, that might be a key. But again, you can put up 50 points, but if you're going into a shootout with Lincoln Riley, I'm taking Lincoln 10 out of 10 times.
Scott, how do you sell me on coming to? Sorry, Lars. Hey, okay, we'll stay there and then we can go to the. How do you sell me? I'm playing for Roosevelt. I'm that hot shot player. Dreaming here. How do you sell me right now on going to the UW?
Well, I think you kind of have to go back on your tradition. You have to do those things. You have to use that. It has to be part of the package. I mean, Washington has won a national championship here. They have been in the college football playoff. Those are things you have to build your layers upon doing those things. The bottom line is in the recruiting business, as you two know, I mean, you guys see it every day, and it's about relationships. It's about building those things, not creating this aura that you're too good, that you're above it all. I think you have to get in the nitty gritty. Really at the end of the day, the head coach needs to be the finisher. You better have 10 dogs that are really good recruiters is what you better have. And the head coach has got to be the finisher, but have a very good plan of how you're about to go about do this thing. And you've got to own it. I mean, when I was under Coach James, we talked about personnel every day. I mean, we talked about who we're out and who we're recruiting and things like that. And in this world we live in today, I mean, it's just totally different. We were basically a West Coast recruiting Hawaii. That was kind of our deal. Now it's national. I mean, even there's an inference this morning on a podcast that Lincoln really at Oklahoma hadn't really recruited California very much. And strangely, the last 3 to 4 months, he was recruiting California is really hard. And, he landed a lot of his California kids to Oklahoma. And then, wow, it's amazing. He just ended up being the USC coach. But, hey, he only got the call on Sunday. So miraculously, those California kids are going to end up at USC. So, again, I mean, we can all play the inference game. But the bottom line, to get local kids here, you got to get excited. You got to win. Yeah, that's the bottom line. You got to win. You got to be successful. You got to do it right. You cannot have the screw ups that you have. Again, I'm not here to knock shots at Coach Lake or anything like that. It's about you've got to put a good product out. And let's be honest. I mean, I was noticing yesterday they said the top games this year, the highest watch was 15 million people. Blah blah blah. Of this year of the things. And then I saw a thing from the Pac-12. I'll send to both to you. The low of this last week was 388,000 people watched one of the Pac-12 games. I mean, that's not good. And George, I don't know where you're standing. I don't know if you're in Vegas, if you're in San Francisco, or you're relocating the office. You better work on that. That's what you better work on. You got to get your product to be seen. And USC is it's a game changer. I've been saying it from 2 months ago. The Pac-12 and USC have to be hand in hand. And that hire has to be out of the ballpark. And man, did they hit a home run. They hit a home run. And it's sky's the limit. I mean, like I said, I know that at the Modern Day versus Bosco game this year, there were 60 Division I recruits at one game. I don't think you can go even Texas into Florida and find 60 in one game. So pretty impressive.
Lars, you're a recruiter. I mean, the ins and the outs, but answer 2 questions if you will. Can you win with this roster? And how do you get that recruit? Because because Scott Laigo told us about kind of from the structural perspective, but from what you know, since you always got some ear on the street, how do you do this?
So to answer your first question, yes, this roster is loaded with talent. This is not a 4 or 5 win team. The fact that this season was an absolute malpractice on about 10 levels from top down, it was a malpractice. Can't even get over that. 2, one thing that I have been told that is I don't know if I believe it or I have to see it to believe it, but from the people that I've talked to who I do believe in are credible people, he can go into Fresno. He got kids from LA to go to Fresno, which is apparently the armpit of the world.
That's what I said. Go ahead.
But the point is, so I haven't seen that. And if you look at all of his recruits at Fresno State, 1/3 of them had a Power 5 offer. 2/3 didn't even have a Power 5 offer. So it's not just it's not as much the stars, because the star game is that's a different realm. Who is recruiting these kids against you? If you're not recruiting against anybody, well, it doesn't matter, because you're going to easily get some 2-3 star under the guy. And yes, Washington under Chris Peterson was able to do that with a few guys, but you can't at a school like Washington, and Peterson learned that. You can't have that be your foundation. You need to have the mix of 3, 4, and maybe a sprinkle some 5 stars in there. And there's no question these guys can develop players. I'm not worried about that. Kirby Moore turned Fresno State into arguably one of the best receiver rooms in the country and had nothing coming in. So that was all on Kirby and Deboer and that offense making it work. So wouldn't be surprised to see Kirby come to Seattle. That being said, again, I just don't know if you can even put a staff together to recruit. You're going to have to find some diamonds in the rough. And that's kind of the problem is, if your game is going to be diamonds in the rough, well, that means you're losing Connolly, you're losing Wayne, like Scott said, and you really can't lose Connolly, by the way. Jalen Wayne is probably going to go to the SEC or to a major school. No disrespect to Washington, but his recruitment is already at that level. He's been to Alabama a handful of times, so you're now behind the 8 ball, way major league on that one. Connolly, you have to close on. That's one guy from Rainier Beach. You have to get him, keep him in the state. And almost kind of like a Buda Baker effect, where Buda, when he committed to Oregon, when Peterson took over, flipped his commitment to Washington about a month later. That's kind of what you're going to have to look for.
How do you do that? That's what you have to do. But how are you going to do that?
Relationships, like we've all been saying, is that's where it starts. And it seems like Deboer is that kind of guy where he really connects with players. And it seems like the current players on the roster, they're willing to give him a shot. Maybe not the starting quarterback from this year, but that's because he's got a few other reasons to be upset. But I think he's got the character to do it. I haven't seen it.
Let me, no, absolutely, you guys. And I'm sorry I didn't play that clip, but he did say that Peterson, he said something on a clip that Fresno State old coaches are welcome. Tedford, to what you talked about, Scott, that he's one of those, that he's not. I mean, he's comfortable with himself. So old coaches can come in and take a look. There's a clip that he said that. Maybe I'll clip it for some other times when we get back. So that looks like that's his makeup. I wonder, is this, when we talk about player relations, and he said he can't wait to get to the high school coaches and meet him and all that. So that's all the right things to kind of what you're saying. Bringing Hainer to the UW?
I mean that honestly, I like it.
You through that one, okay.
So I like it for a couple of reasons. One, the reason why Jake transferred originally down to Fresno State at the beginning of the 2018 or 19 season after 2019, after Easton got the job, was because everyone in that room knew Hainer had the better clicking offense. Everyone in camp knew that Hainer was the right guy. However, when you have a former 5-star Lake Stevens guy comes from Georgia, Chris Peterson has said, okay, you can come home. We'll make it work. Bush Hamden was the offensive coordinator, so really it was Chris Peterson's offense. And you could see throughout that season, Easton was like, okay, he's got talent, but again, he doesn't really have it. He doesn't have the room, doesn't have the team. Hainer was a guy, and you've seen it at Fresno State the past 2 years, he's a team guy. Everybody loves to play for Jake Hainer. Jake Hainer's a competent quarterback when you have a decent offensive coordinator. So coming with Deboer and Grubbs, it's a perfect connection. And also,
I'm going to stop you there because I'd like Scott, because we only got a couple of minutes. I don't think Lars's historical context. I don't think it's a good move. Scott, take us through and let me know, because Dylan Morris is here. Now everybody's talking about the second coming of Sam Heward, and now you're bringing Jack Hannard. How do you navigate that, Scott? That's
something that nobody's really talked about, and I think it's a huge question. And I think there's even a second layer to that whole thing. With the dad and the uncle both being ex-UW quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. How does that play? How does that look? Let's be honest. I mean, C.J. Stroud, the kid down in Alabama this year, they're playing now. And so will a Heward be willing to sit back and do another year? It's going to be really dicey. I think I don't know how they're going to handle the room. That'll be very interesting. That's a situation, and I would think that if that happened, let's just argue Heward stays, I think Morris is obviously in the portal within 2 minutes, or vice versa. If Morris is the guy, then Heward's out the door. I mean, it's one of the two.
Heward's not leaving.
No, we gotta go. We gotta go. And I'm sorry, Coach. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds each. Lars, I want to come back to that. I don't want to cut you, leave you without saying. So, Coach,
I just think that at the end of the day, it's going to be very interesting to watch that scenario go down. I do think that, and I'm with I watched that UCLA game with Fresno. Hayner's he's a gamer. He's in it, man. He was barely above standing when he was done playing that game. So I understand that part of the deal. And you got to do what's right for your team. That's your job as the head coach. You've got to make what's best for your team. Now,
Lars,
my thing was in the Apple Cup. Dylan Morris didn't even have a headset on. He quit on the team. That's how it looked. He did not have any interest in looking at Sam, and tried to play nice with a fist bump to Sam. And I'm like, you just quit on your team and
Lars,
the guy who's been helping you.
We're talking about Hainer coming back. Leave Dylan Morris out and personal. You got 30 seconds.
That's what I'm saying. So Hainer can come back as the bridge to Heward. Heward gets a year or two and then goes. Heward's not going to go. I mean, it's easy. And if Heward's the better quarterback, then Heward's the better quarterback. End of story. But then it's between Sam and Jake.
Okay. All right. It's quicksand. It's going to be interesting, and how he manages it. We all agree how he manages it. It's a defining moment, right? You coming right in, and whatever happens. So, gentlemen, I'm sorry I had to chop you up. We should go to 60 minutes when we get this done. But brilliant stuff as always. Appreciate ya. And that is Scott Laigo, student athlete advocates, and Lars Hanson of the Dawg Report. I'm Mazvita Maraire, Seattle Sports Weekly. Thank you.
If you or a family member are 55 or over and need